Hello everyone, it's Professor Capko again. I want to talk to you some more about slope. This is the second video about how to calculate slope. So in the last video we learned how to do it by eyeballing it. And that was nice to do when we had the video. When we had a coordinate plane and it drawn. But sometimes you won't be given that. Sometimes you're just given a word problem like this. What is the slope of the line that passes through the points 0, 0, and 4, and 2? So we're given 2 points. Anytime you have 2 points on the line, you can calculate the slope. You definitely need 2 points though. So this time around, I'm going to calculate it using a formula. Okay, and I'm going to give you the formula for slope. Remember that the slope, which is abbreviated M, think about mountains, as we said last time, is the rise over the run. And I told you always run left to right and always rise up. Again, you can calculate slope going the other direction, but let's just simplify things and do it the same way every time. So we're figuring out the rise over the run. Okay, and we've got to figure out how to figure those out. Last time we figured it out by moving along the x-axis and then up the y-axis. So what we're talking about is really the rise is how much is it moving up and down the y-axis. So on top we're talking about the change in y. So how did the y change? And then the bottom is how much are you running, so that's how much are you changing in x. How much does the x change? So we're looking at the change in y over the change in x to figure out slope. Well, how do we figure out change? If we think about it, if I bought an item from you that's $75 and I handed you a $100 bill, how would you know how much change to give me? That's right, you subtract. You would subtract the $75 price tag from this $100 I gave you, and it would give you a change. The change in this case is $25. I know some of you would just put it into the calculator or the cash register and let you tell you how much it is, but that's what the calculator is doing. Alright, so it's doing subtraction. So I'm going to figure out my change through subtraction. Now I'm going to do this slightly differently than perhaps your book. The book usually talks about y1 and y2 and x1 and x2. To me, or it's x sub 1, sub 2, there's too many numbers then. I don't like to do all those numbers. I like to think in terms of I'm traveling from point A to point B. So let's talk about the y for point B minus the y for point A. So that's my change in y all over the x for point B minus the x for point A. So that's actually going to be my formula I'm going to use. Slope is going to be equal to the y sub b minus the y sub a all over the x sub b minus the x sub a. So now we just need to figure out our points. We have 2 points, 0, 0, and 4 and 2. Those are the points that our problem gave us. Well, we need to choose a point A and choose a point B. And frankly, it doesn't matter. Just choose one and then the other, because the point is that you choose one and don't get them confused. So we'll just call this point A and we'll call this one point B. If you chose it the other way, that's fine. But remember, this is the x for it and this is the y for it. This is the x for it. This is the y for B. Okay, I'm just labeling my points. Your x is always to the left, your y is always to the right. The next thing I have my students do to try and avoid being confused is, let's make a little tic-tac-toe chart. We know we always have the x on the left and the y's on the right, and we'll have A is over B. And now we're going to fill in our tic-tac-toe chart. So what we do is we can fill it in like this. Alright, my AX, A and X, AX is 0. And I circle it up here so I don't forget that I've used it already. And then my AY is also 0. See where those are coming from? And then I've got BX, B and X is 4. And and my by is 2. It's like sinking a battleship playing the game, right? So now I've filled in my chart, all my points have been used, and so now I can fill it into my formula. And I know that my slope is equal to the change in y over the change in x. So I'm going to use this formula up here. But what I'm going to do is, instead of using the variables, I'm going to use my boxes. And I'm going to label them. This empty box here is YB. And I'm going to subtract from it an empty box. That's YA, labeling it just like my formula. On the bottom here, I've got a box that's XB. That's that point. And I'm subtracting my XA. That's that point. Okay? So now I've got my framework, and all I need to do is now fill it in to calculate it. And it's always good to use these boxes, because then you remember that there's subtraction in between. Sometimes you have a negative number, and without these boxes, folks forget that it was a negative. They see the negative there, and they ignore it. So this is to avoid that problem. So now I need to fill in my YB. Well, I go back over here. My B and Y, my YB is 2. And then my YA, I'm going to fill in this box. My Y and my A is 0. And then I need to find my XB. So my X and B, the X and B line up for 4. And my XA is 0. So I've used all of these, so I know that I've not made any mistakes. Now I've plugged. All we need to do is chug. I've got 2 minus 0 is 2. 4 minus 0 is 4. Again, if there was a negative here, I'd remember them subtracting a negative, which becomes positive. But in this case, they're both negative. They're both a positive number, so I've got 2 over 4, and that can be reduced to 1/2. So my slope of this line that goes through points 0, 0 and 4, 2 is 1/2. And we know that's correct is because that's the same points that we used when we drew it, in which is a good way to check it. 0, 0 and 4, 2, it goes up 2, goes over 4, and we did that in the other video. That's a positive slope, so we know our answer is correct. So that's how you use the slope formula to calculate slope. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you have other questions, go ahead and put them in the comments, and I'll try to get back to you with them. If you like this video, go ahead and click like. And this is Professor Capko reminding you to keep your grade alive and subscribe. Until next time, Professor Capko out. Bye.